In the comics, Robot took over the entire Earth. He killed Cecil Stedman. He ripped Eve's leg off. He neutralized almost every powered being on the planet one by one, and he did it with prep time and planning so thorough that by the time anyone realized what was happening, it was already done. So who could actually kill him? Let's break it down. You need to understand what Robot is as a threat before any of these names make sense. The mistake people make is treating him like a physical fighter who happens to be smart. He's a planner who happens to have physical options. That difference is everything when you're trying to figure out how to stop him. In his original form, Rudy Connors was a severely deformed human floating in a life support pod, controlling drone bodies remotely.
What is that?
Calm down. I believe you can answer that question on your own.
It's the real Robot.
Normal air burned his lungs. He couldn't leave the tank under any circumstances. Everything Robot did in the field was through machines he built and operated from a distance. Nobody figured it out. He operated that way for years with his whole team not knowing a human being was behind it. The clone body changes everything. After transferring his consciousness into a body grown from Rexplode's DNA, Robot became physically present in the world for the first time. He could be hit, he could be hurt. Rexplode's body was enhanced but nowhere near Viltrumite tier, so the clone bleeds like a normal person. What it comes with is a Neuralink device the original Rudy built before he died, letting the clone control an unlimited army of drone suits at the same time while being physically present in the fight.
I'm a 30-year-old genius in a teenage boy's body with a Neuralink chip you just installed for me.
You're dealing with more than a hidden tank. You're fighting a human body surrounded by an endless stream of increasingly dangerous machines. His suits during the takeover are built from a metal alloy he invented himself. And this is where it gets really frightening. He engineers the suits so that any impact strong enough to damage them produces the high-frequency sonic tone that disrupts Viltrumite inner ear equilibrium. He studied the frequency that hurts Viltrumites, the same one Cecil had built into his kill switch, and baked it into every suit.
Remember that giant lobster you tangled with in Atlantis? I had the lab boys recreate the sound it made. Turns out we can transmit it to your earpiece.
The harder you hit, the louder it fires. He turned the fight against him into a trap where your greatest strength becomes your biggest problem. His real weakness is informational, not physical. He prepares for what he knows. A fighter he's never studied, coming in with something he hasn't seen before, threatens him in a way that raw power alone never does. His whole system depends on having the right read on the threat before the fight starts. The reason this list isn't longer is that most characters in this universe are known quantities to him. Like Mark is the obvious answer and he earns it, but the way it plays out tells you a lot about what Robot built. During the takeover arc, Mark tries to fight Robot directly and loses badly.
I know you're in one of these. Let's see if we hit the jackpot.
You are aware I can control my drones remotely.
Who the hell are you? Where's the ugly little troll guy?
Robot suits fire the inner ear frequency every time Mark hits them, and Mark does what he always does in a fight. He hits things hard and keeps hitting them. The harder he swings, the louder it fires, the more disoriented he becomes. He runs into a wall of drones, takes hit after hit, and eventually has to stop before he loses function completely. Robot beats him without anything close to full effort because he built a trap calibrated to Mark's biology, his strength, his fighting style, his inner ear sensitivity, and Mark walked straight into it. The second confrontation ends with Robot contained rather than killed. Mark wins the argument. Robot surrenders, gets sealed into a glass unit, and eventually serves as an advisor under the Immortals' leadership.
You want to quit? Absolutely not. Rudy, get in here.
Sir?
Your old job just opened back up.
In the comics, Mark never actually kills Robot. The resolution is political. Could he kill him though? Yes. The frequency counter only works if Mark fights the way Robot expected. A Mark who has seen it in action, who refuses to strike the suits directly, who uses the environment and throws objects from range instead, gets through the outer layer without absorbing the worst of it, and once he's through, he's dealing with a human clone body. That fight ends fast. Late series Mark, the one who went inside a functioning star to fight Thrag, generates enough force that suit integrity becomes the real question. He cracks them faster than the tone can fire cleanly, absorbs what gets through, and reaches the clone body. Robot prepared for Season 3 Mark, Season 4 Mark. The version that fought Thrag in the sun was beyond what the model accounted for.
I killed Conquest! I'll kill you too! Show me.
Eve is the most dangerous person on this list for Robot, and the show makes that clear not by showing her win, but by showing what Robot does the moment she arrives. He takes her out immediately and violently, because leaving her in the fight means losing it. Robot's suits are built from his invented metal alloy. The whole threat model depends on that metal doing what he designed it to do: absorb force, fire the tone, protect the body inside. Eve can rearrange the molecular structure of any inorganic matter. That alloy, however carefully engineered, is still inorganic. She can look at it and understand it at a molecular level. She was born with that ability, and she can unmake it, dissolve the bonds, restructure it into something useless before it gets near her. Every drone, every suit, every layer of defense between his clone body and open air becomes irrelevant the moment Eve decides she wants it gone.
I see it all now. Every single molecule around us. I can touch them, taste them, control them.
The comics fight shows this even under the worst conditions. She's pregnant. She knows using her powers risks the pregnancy and holds back, fighting at a fraction of her capacity. Even then, she knocks his drone construct to the ground. Robot recovers because she can't sustain it safely, but the point lands. She's hurting him while actively trying not to. A fully powered Eve post-season 3 with the mental blocks worn down and the ability to affect organic matter unlocked faces a different fight entirely. She takes apart the suits, she takes apart the drones, she leaves the clone body standing in open air with nothing between it and whatever she decides next. He knew this. That's why he ripped her leg off the moment she entered range. He didn't try to wear her down gradually. He removed her in the first exchange because every second she stayed functional was a second she could dismantle everything he built. What Robot does in that moment tells you more about who he was afraid of than any power ranking could. On paper, Nolan should walk through everything Robot built. He's 2,000 years old. He survived conflicts that would end most beings in the universe. He helped fight Thrag's army inside a star. Nothing in a suit should register as a real problem for someone at that level, but the frequency suits deserve honest respect here.
You don't seem to understand. Earth isn't yours to conquer.
The inner ear disruption targets Viltrumite biology, and it doesn't care how old you are. 2,000 years of adaptive biology builds strength, density, healing, and pain tolerance, but it doesn't rewire your inner ear. The tone still hits. Nolan cracking a suit hard enough to damage it causes it to fire at full intensity. It would stop a younger Viltrumite cold. The difference between Nolan and Mark here is what happens right after the pain hits. Nolan has spent 2,000 years in fights where something unexpected hurt him, and he had to adapt without panicking. When the tone hits him on the first exchange, he doesn't need to figure out what's happening. He categorizes it immediately. Frequency weapon, inner ear focus, hits make it worse, he stops hitting directly. From that point, he works from range, projectile attacks, steel beams launched from 50 feet, structural elements used as weapons without his hands making contact. He's strong enough that debris thrown at speed cracks the alloy open without triggering the tone at full force. He works through the drones and gets to the clone body.
I was worried before because I've never seen your father so badly hurt. But taking on aliens in another dimension? That's just Tuesday.
Robot's whole plan against Viltrumites depends on the suits doing their job through the opening exchanges. Against Nolan, he loses that window after exchange 1. Without it working, he's asking metal drones to contain someone who's been conquering planets for 20 centuries. No Swarm closes that gap. Without months of preparation built specifically for Nolan, this goes to Nolan before Robot can adjust. Every strategy Robot has is built on the same assumption. Pain changes behavior, and change behavior creates a gap he can exploit. The suits assume Viltrumites, who feel the tone will stop hitting things and try something different. The drone swarms assume opponents who get overwhelmed start making mistakes. The whole system depends on pain management shaping how the fight goes. Battle Beast breaks that entirely. He's one of the only beings in the Invincible universe who doesn't just push through pain, he feeds off it.
My final meal will be my own blood as I choke on it, breathing my last breath after a legendary battle with a superior opponent.
His response to getting hurt isn't to reassess, it's to go harder, because if it hurts this much, the opponent is finally worth something. The tone firing would register as the fight getting better. Every drone wave he punches through is a higher score. He doesn't have a threshold where the pain input changes his approach because his approach never changes. Forward, harder until it's over. His raw strength also puts the suits under real pressure. He fought Mark to a standstill when Mark was already well developed. He's physically competitive with Viltrumites in a way almost nothing outside the species achieves. The force he hits with means the suits might not survive long enough to fire properly. You need the suit to take the initial impact to generate the tone. Against Battle Beast, that first hit might already be more than the suit was built for. To stop him, Robot would need to study Battle Beast ahead of time, understand the psychology, and find a way to neutralize him through something that doesn't trigger the combat response. That's possible given enough time. Without prep, in a reactive situation, Battle Beast punches through the drones and gets to Robot before the system figures out what it's dealing with. Robot has no good answer for Thrag. That's the honest summary. The suits need the opponent to strike them to fire the tone. Against Mark, it worked because Mark hits things and kept hitting them through the pain. Against Thrag, the suits get one exchange. He feels it on the first hit, recognizes it as a targeted weapon rather than structural damage, and stops striking the suits directly. Done.
The death of any Viltrumite leaves a void in me.
He's not coming back to them the same way. Thrag has spent thousands of years in warfare, not hundreds, thousands. He's fought beings across the galaxy that nobody in the current story has even heard of. His ability to adapt mid-fight is as close to automatic as a biological being gets. The idea that a mechanism designed by a human, however brilliant, fools Thrag through more than one exchange assumes his combat intelligence falls below what Robot expected to face. It doesn't. It's above it. Once he stops hitting the suits, he starts looking for weak points, the joints between components, connection points where drones link together, places where the alloy had to be thinner to allow movement. He's fought enough armored opponents to know that every suit has them, and finding them is just a matter of looking. His strength is the other problem. Robot built the alloy to handle Viltrumite level force based on the Viltrumites he had data on, mainly Mark, and educated guesses from there.
Based on bone and muscle density scans, the simulations give Mark a less than 18% chance of surviving a combat encounter with her.
Thrag's output exceeds all of that. He's the strongest Viltrumite alive. Nobody has reliable data on his ceiling because nothing has ever survived long enough to measure it. The only version of this fight that's even close is Thrag walking blind into a kill box. Robot spent months building specifically for him with complete and accurate data on his capabilities. That's a lot of assumptions stacked together. Any one of them being wrong ends the plan. And Thrag is the one person in this universe whose ceiling Robot simply can't model. The Alan who got beaten nearly to death by 3 Viltrumites in space and the Alan who came back from that coma are 2 completely different fighters. The Unopan breeding program had one goal: produce a specimen that could beat a Viltrumite in a straight fight. They put Alan through a near-death experience and let him heal, because the healing is where the upgrade happens. He came back stronger, now operating near the lower end of Viltrumite level output.
The breeding camps were also a genetic enhancement program designed to breed a soldier that could defeat a Viltrumite in combat.
He's nowhere near Thrag, not where late series Mark ends up, but he's in a conversation with average Viltrumites that he had no business being in before. Against Robot suits, the same tone problem applies. Alan's upgrades pushed him into the range where the inner ear disruption hits him. He'd feel it on a direct strike. What makes Alan a different problem is his recovery. His biology was built to absorb punishment and improve from it in real time. He came back from damage that should have killed him permanently.
I turned off your life support machine. I knew without it, you would either die or recover stronger than before.
Sustained exposure to the tone over a long fight might start doing less and less to him, because that's literally what the UNOPAN program engineered him to do. The show doesn't confirm that applies to sonic frequency, but it's what the biology was designed to produce. He can also keep going at a rate that outlasts drone swarms. Robot's strategy against strong opponents depends on the tone doing enough damage fast enough that the opponent stops being effective before the drones run out. Against someone who takes hits and keeps going, that math doesn't hold. Alan fights through it. The drones eventually run dry. An unprepared robot against an Alan who knows to stay at range and not hit the suits directly trends toward Alan over time. With specific prep built around Alan's biology rather than standard Viltrumite physiology, Robot has better options, but Alan keeps getting harder to model correctly, and that's its own kind of problem.
You are coming with us. Our prison scientists will cut you open until we find the source of your strength.
The Mark Grayson who bites Thrag's throat out inside the sun while his body is falling apart has nothing in common with the person who got neutralized by robot suits. By the time he's fighting the strongest Viltrumite alive inside a functioning star, and both of them are barely holding together, he's grown enough to actually close the gap between them. Every fight he survived from Season 1 forward upgraded him. That's what years of near-death experiences look like when the biology keeps catching up. Against Robot at that point, the suits are an annoyance and nothing more. A Mark who can stay functional inside a star while fighting someone stronger than him has a pain tolerance that a sonic tone can hurt but can't stop. It fires. He feels it. He keeps going. He's been hit harder by the star itself. He also knows what the suits do. He's not walking in blind this time. He stays at range where he can, uses the environment, only goes direct when the suit is already compromised. That combination gets him to the clone body without the tone taking him out first. At this point in his development, the gap between what Mark can produce and what Robot's technology can realistically handle is too wide for preparation alone to close. At some point, the physical difference just exceeds what any amount of engineering can compensate for.
And his strength, and we checked this wasn't a mistake, 138%. The science team is already working on a heavier version.
Every person on this list has a specific pathway. None of them just walk in and win without knowing what they're dealing with. The suits work. Mark proved that in the first encounter when he lost. The prep behind the takeover is real. Robot had years to study every powered being on Earth and used every one of those years. He took over the planet, not because he was the strongest thing alive, but because he knew more about everyone's capabilities and limitations than they knew about his. What gets him killed is two things working together: strength that exceeds what the suits were built to handle, and the willingness to not fight the way he expected you do. Characters who hit hard but fight predictably walk into the trap. Characters who fight smart but can't break through the suits run out of options. Everyone on this list covers both or represents a threat his technology has no real answer for. He's the smartest person in every room he's ever been in. He built and ran a global superhero team while secretly running long-term plans that nobody caught for years. That intelligence is the actual threat more than any drone or suit. The suits are just what the intelligence looks like when it decides to fight, which is also why the list is shorter than you'd expect for someone who's technically just a human underneath all of it. He's prepared for almost everything. The people who can end him are the ones who represent something he can't fully model. Too much, too fast, from an angle he got wrong. Let us know in the comments if you want the full breakdown on any of these matchups. The Thrag one especially has a lot more to it than you might think. Subscribe to be here when we get into it.